client interview for interviewing and counseling final. So did you have an easy time finding her off?
Yeah, it was alright, not too bad.
Did you face any of the typical Washington traffic?
No, it wasn't too bad today.
Good. Glad to hear it. So, as you've discussed with my office before, you're coming in for just a basic client intake interview, and so I just wanted to get a little bit through today's agenda before we actually get down to the real brass tacks. So today I just want to hear about everything that's bringing you here. I want to know about your goals, your objectives, your concerns, and from there I hope to figure out the next steps collaboratively with you. And I want you to know that absolutely everything you say to me during this interview is completely client confidential. There's attorney-client privilege, so no one will hear anything that's said to you today. So I want you to really feel like you can tell me absolutely everything that's going on. And is it okay with you if I take some notes while you're talking to me and just jotting stuff out? Great. And just to kind of give you full disclosure, I have a flat fee of $150 today for the first intake interview. And then after that, it's approximately $250 an hour. And then based on whether or not we go to trial, there are different fees, and there might be a retainer fee also of $7,500. But that's all if we even get to trial if we get that far. Are there any time constraints you have today?
No.
Okay. Usually the intake interview takes about an hour, so I just wanted to let you know. So that's kind of the basic rundown I wanted to cover today. Do you have any questions so far?
No questions so far.
Okay. And is there anything I can do to make you more comfortable?
No.
Okay, wonderful. So I just kind of want to start with, what brings you here today?
Yeah, I'm looking to break my lease.
Okay. And like I said before, I hope you don't mind. I'll be kind of jotting down notes as you're talking to me. But so you're looking to break your lease effective immediately?
Yes.
Okay. And so that would put us at February. And when did you start this lease?
September 1st.
Of what year?
2014.
Okay. So, and where is it located?
In Beacon Hill, South Union Street.
Okay. And is it an apartment that you have by yourself?
It's a small house.
Okay. So are you actually living there with multiple people?
It's just me.
So just you. And you're the only one on the lease?
Yes.
Okay. So, what is your reason for wanting to break this lease?
There's a lot, but the culmination of it is that the landlord has gotten to the point where I can't work with him anymore, and I feel that it is to the point where I no longer feel like I should be living there, and so I think I just got to go.
Okay, and have you actually talked to your landlord about wanting to break the lease?
Yeah, I left him multiple voicemails, and I've called him several times, and he has to get back to me.
Okay, and so you're just saying you're just really uncomfortable where you're living right now. Could you give me a little bit more information about why you feel like you're uncomfortable there? What exactly conspired between September 1st of 2014 and now?
Yeah, well, I've had to make several repairs to the home as the landlord has been unreachable, and so I feel like I shouldn't be acting as a real homeowner when I'm just renting, and so I'm just kind of fed up with that for sure, and I just want to break the lease and get into somewhere where I don't have to be making constant repairs and worrying about the house, and it's just really frustrating.
Yeah, I can imagine that, because you are paying that rent, and a part of being a renter is that your house is kept up to living conditions by the landlord and not by you. And I'm assuming you've invested time and money and effort into making these repairs, so I could see why that would be really frustrating to you. So can you kind of give me an idea of like when the breakdown started happening to the house, like what type of repairs you had made?
I give you a few examples. I have some receipts with me.
Oh, great.
Let's see. At the beginning, it was just it was smaller things, but the culmination has been February 16th. I had to call in Fisher Plumbing for my water heating repaired, and they quoted me $800, which is more money than I have at the moment.
So this is the most recent?
This is the most recent incident that I've had. And basically, it was on Valentine's Day, and I went to go take a shower, and there was no hot water. And I went down to the basement, and the water heater was leaking rust-colored water all over the basement.
Wow.
There was several inches deep, and several boxes of my stuff were completely ruined in this event. And so on February 16th, I got a plumber out, and he quoted me at $800. And so this is something that I can't afford that right now. And so I called Dennis, my landlord, and I left him a voicemail, and I actually moved out on February 16th. I left that day to a new place that I found, and so I'm living there currently and not in the house.
And so your landlord knew that you were moving out that day.
So I've been in contact with him constantly since September 1st, basically, and he has yet to respond to a single phone call or voicemail. He's deposited all the rent checks, and he's seen the receipts that he left with him and deducted from the rent, but he has not responded to them or gotten back to me at all.
So when you left the voicemail to him, after the plumbing problem happened, did you in your voicemail say anything about, hey, I'm moving out?
So on February 16th, I left a voicemail saying I am not living in the home anymore. I locked the house, left one set of keys on the counter. I kept a set of keys with me. And yeah, I haven't heard back from him since yet.
So, can you give me an idea? Did you get an estimate for how much damage happened to your property when this flooding happened?
I don't have an estimate. I just know that my things were damaged. I had to rent a U-Haul to move and get all the stuff out. It was several boxes of personal items and stuff that is getting stored that could be in the house. And so there's a lot of personal damage that has been done, stuff that I've kept over the years that is no longer feasible to me. So.
Okay, and I'm sure that's really upsetting because a lot of it, were they like personal mementos and stuff?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, that's awful. So can you give me an idea of what else happened before this plumbing incident?
Another incident that I had, let's see. This one was closer to Thanksgiving. This happened on February 23rd. Two of my burners on the stove went out, and I had to get new burners for my stove. And they probably went out about November 19th, November 20th. And I called Dennis and several times and he didn't get back to me. And so I had to buy new ones on November 23rd because I had people coming over for Thanksgiving and I needed to go for them. And so I bought them from Lowe's and I attached a receipt to my rent and I deducted the $150 that it cost from the rent and I didn't pay it that month. He deposited the rent check but he didn't get back to me, so he must have seen it. He just did not contact me.
So he didn't say anything regarding you deducting the rent by your own. And so with the installation of the burners, is that something you have to do yourself?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. And is that something that you know, or is it like a skilled task, or something that you usually?
Well, when I moved in, he asked me if I was handy and able to do self-repairs, and I told him that I was. And so far the repairs that I've done have been manageable by me up until this water heater, which I just can't do myself.
Okay. So would you say that that's something a normal tenant would be able to do?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay. And so what happened after that?
I mean, the house is just a mess. It's just in complete disarray. There was another. I mean, in December, I made several small repairs. It cost me about $200. I repainted my bedroom and the hallway because they were looking pretty dilapidated, and so I also repaired a torn curtain and the washers on the kitchen sink and the bathroom sink, which were leaking. And so that was $200. And so I attached the receipt from Home Depot to the rent check, and I deducted it, and I wrote on the check that this was deducted because I had to pay for this. And so that was something that was another irritation that I don't think that I should be fixing that as a tenant.
So what exactly was wrong with the bedroom you said?
The paint was chipping and it was not in good order and it just looked bad. And so I was tired of living in a home that didn't feel it was nice and comfortable. And
was there? So I understand that the burner is something that is like your house is inhabitable if you can't cook your food. Your house is inhabitable if you don't have plumbing. Is there anything else that makes your house pretty much unlivable that happens?
Well, when I first moved in, I noticed that the gutters were super old and had coverings on them, and so they just filled with leaves. And so weekly, I would have to go out there and clean them, and which is just super irritating.
Yeah.
And so this started back up in September, and it rained for about 6 days straight, and the gutters overflowed and the water spilled down. And so there was some pooling up again outside of my basement, and it just kind of there's actually concerned about it because there's some moisture kind of getting in the basement, so I'm worried about any mold problems and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's good. Is that something you've gotten tested yet, or just
No, I looked at it.
Okay. And you said that you had contacted him for like every single time these things happened.
With every single occurrence I did, I called him several times and left voicemails with him.
Okay. Wow, that is pretty frustrating. And you say that there's absolutely no, so basically the only sign of his existence is the fact that he's cashing your rent check.
Yes.
Wow. So let me ask, what is your objective?
I need to break my lease because I'm no longer living there, and so I haven't paid rent for March 1st yet, and it's due March 1st.
Okay.
And I need to break my lease, and I'm hoping to get some compensation for my damaged items and for the cost of moving out, and for all my hassle through this process.
Okay, so basically you want to get out of the situation and get reasonable compensation. That's pretty reasonable. So, is there anything else that happened that I missed?
Yeah, November 5th was when I had a sewage backup, and so my toilet, I went into my bathroom on November 5th, and my toilet had overflown, and I looked in the bathroom, and the sewage had backed up into the bathroom.
Oh my gosh.
And it was disgusting. And I spent the night at a friend's house because I couldn't live there that night, and I got some plumbers over, and it was $445 for them to come out there and fix the sewage line. And so that November I also deducted that $445 from the rent. I left that. I also called Dennis several times, and I left a voicemail and he got back to me. Other than that, in September, the gas lawnmower that he left me with was broken. And so my neighbor offered to sell me his, and so I bought my neighbor's push mower with $25, which I also deducted from the September rent.
Okay, and so if you didn't have a lawnmower, I'm assuming the yard would be in an unbelievable condition.
Yeah.
How much did you buy it for? $25?
$25.
So basically, it's just a mounting amount of effort and money and time on your part to even be able to live in this environment that you're renting, which really should be something where it's like kept habitable for you, and you should only really be there and dealing with normal wear and tear. Right. Okay. Is there anything else I've missed that happened between you and your lawnmower?
No, that's about it.
Okay. So there were no other weird incidences. There's nothing else that was broken. No. Did you have any problems with like insulation in the house?
No, I mean all the stuff I could generally handle myself. There were no problems and stuff like that. It's just been I just can't do it anymore. At first it was just reasonable repairs, and now with the water, with not being able to have hot water and not knowing when I could get fixes, I can't do it.
Now, is there anything that happened in your house that might be reasonable to you because of your experience and expertise with doing handiwork that may be unreasonable to other people?
I mean, I don't think that people could replace the washers on the sinks. I think that was something. I mean, most of these self projects, I mean, the painting could be done by anyone probably, but the majority of these, I don't think the normal person could do.
And do you know if anyone else who's lived there before or even dealt with this landlord?
I don't.
And the first time when you actually met with him in person before you rented the place, right? Yeah. Did he put any addendums into your lease, or did you notice anything strange?
Not that I know of. When we first met, he did a normal walkthrough of the house with me on the checklist, and it was a pretty standard lease. He just wanted to make sure that I could do some self repair. I was relatively handy. He said he was looking for an independent tenant, which would not contact him a lot.
Okay, and he didn't indicate in any way that basically all repairs would be reimbursed.
He didn't specify that, but he wanted to make sure that I was able to do self-repair.
Okay. And did he indicate what type of self-repair?
No.
Okay. So, did you indicate to him in any way that you're as handy as you are as far as like being able to do washers and the burners and everything?
Well, I wanted to get the house because it was reasonable. Right. And so when he asked me if I was handy, I told him yes because I had some inclination of doing it, but not to this extent. I did not think that this was going to be what was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand that. That is a lot of work to put into the house like anything. And let me just reassert again that everything we say here is confidential, and really the more information you can give me, the better, because that way we can really approach this with a all-encompassing solution for everything that's going on. So, is there anything I've missed here?
Dennis lives out of the country a lot. I guess it's something maybe I should have specified. He works for Mercy Corps as a physician assistant, and so he told me when we started the lease that he was going to be gone for several months at a time. And he said he wouldn't be super reliable. He wouldn't be super reliable to contact via phone. So,
So did you try to reach out to him with other media, like email and stuff?
no, it was all just phone calls.
Okay. So, and you got his voicemail.
Yes.
And you were definitely leaving voicemail.
Yes.
Did he indicate when he's coming back to the country?
No. And it's been about 6 months now that I have not heard from him. I haven't received voicemail. I just know that my rent check has been deposited. And I have left the receipts with him and the deducted from the rent, so he should know. And I just have not been contacted. I've not gotten anything back. I've called him after this water incident, I've called him several times. With each of the incidents, I've contacted him almost daily for weeks. So.
So, let me ask, have you ever corresponded with Dennis over email or any other media other than cell phone? So it's always been a cell phone. I guess I'm trying to figure out if this does come to fruition into something, if we'll be able to get in touch with him, because it seems that you pretty much used the method that. So calling him was the recommended method he suggested, right?
No.
Okay. What did he suggest?
He said email would be best.
Okay. And you never emailed him at all?
No.
Okay, well, before I move on, let me just rehash everything I have so far, just in case I've missed something. That way you can tell me that I've missed it in detail. So, on September 1st, 2014, we signed a pretty standard lease for the walkthrough with the and Dennis for a house on Beacon Hill on South Juneau. And, right at the beginning, you kind of felt like you were making several repairs and that you were acting kind of like a homeowner. And then stuff like November 5th happened where your sewage backs up in your bathtub. You have to call a plumber. It costs you about $445. And then, right after you move in, you also realize the lawnmower is broken. You have to go to the neighbor, replace it yourself, and pay him $25 for that. And then the problems just continue. Like November 19th, the burners went out. You had to get supplies for $150 and do the work yourself. And then in December, you returned to the bedroom. You had to replace the washer and the sink. And let's see. And then the straw that kind of broke the camel's back was February 16th when the plumbing went out on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And you just didn't have the resources or the money to be able to replace the plumbing because it's $800. But aside from that, there have been other problems like the gutters aren't covered and you're constantly having to fix that, and there's standing water. And at this point, you're kind of worried that it's just too much work and becoming increasingly uninhabitable, and you've already had damage to your property because of the lack of repair on your landlord's part for this property. But you did try to contact your landlord multiple times via cell phone and left multiple voicemails, continued to send him rent checks that you continued to deposit, but you never did contact him through email, and he is out of the country, possibly because of the lack of return contact. Is there absolutely anything
I guess another concern that I have is that when the water heater did break and I just left, so there was the water heater fixed, and there's still water in the basement. So I don't know. I'm concerned that might be an issue, but I left and I just left standing water in the basement. So I don't know. The thing is that I feel about that is that I shouldn't be having to worry about that. It should be my landlord's problem. And after all these other incidences, I don't feel like this should be my problem. And I feel like I should have the right to live in a home that's habitable. And I don't think that I should be forcing them to repair and live in these conditions.
And when Dennis offered to rent you this place, did he kind of present it like an apartment? Did he say anything regarding his involvement in doing this?
He told me that he'd be out of the country a lot, and he specified he wanted to make sure that I was an independent tenant, and would be able to make these self-performance.
Okay. I feel like I've got a pretty complete picture of what's going on, but as I said one more time, everything you say here is confidential, so if there's absolutely anything else you can think of, is there anything that he said to you that I might be missing, anything that you said to him that you might be missing, any type of side agreement that might not be in the lead?
Not that I know of.
Okay. So, you have Dennis' email, right?
No.
Oh, so you didn't even have his email?
He gave it to me, but early on I lost it, and so then I just didn't have it, and then I was never able to get it back because my call to won't answer, and so there was no way to get it.
And how did you end up finding this place? Was this a Craigslist thing?
It was a friend knew someone who had heard about a place. I don't remember what it was, but he had friends out in contact with him.
So, would your friend maybe have had his email?
No one that when I was put in contact with him, I was only given his phone number, and then Dennis gave me his email, I believe back in September, but since as of then I have no idea where it was.
So, Dennis never took it upon himself to check in and say, hey, everything okay through email? Or?
Not that I know of.
Okay. I mean, he had your email, right?
No.
Okay. So that means the contract is totally covered. Okay. Did you, when you mailed the checks in, did you ever put anything on the memo line that said, I'm deducting this amount for this reason?
Yeah, so he gave me a P.O. box to send it to, and every time I would attach the receipts, and I would just deduct it, deducted. And so, he knew that I put them on the checks and the receipts, and so, he must have seen that he wasn't getting the full $300 in rent, so.
Okay. So he was aware of all the repairs and everything.
He should have been, yeah.
He's basically done everything to make him aware of that.
Right.
And so I got all the major repairs that happened. Were there any minor repairs you had to make in the past?
No, not specifically.
Okay. And well, I'm trying to think of situations that would make your house less comfortable since it's Seattle. Was there any leaking in the house?
The gutters are a major problem because there's much debris workers around the house, and so the needles are just a hassle. And then because they're not functioning properly on the cooling of the water, which is an issue, I haven't noticed anything.
Okay. All right. Great. So before I move on, I'm going to ask one more time. Is there anything else that I missed?
That should be it.
Okay. Great. So I guess what the next step would be is to kind of, explore some options for what you can do. And so we know that your objectives are to make sure that you break the police before you have to pay anything too much. Right. And you want reasonable compensation for everything that's happened. And that includes the repairs you've made, the amount of money you've put into this, the damage to your property that's been done. So those are pretty much your objectives. Now, your objective is to basically be left as whole as possible out of this. There's no retribution here, right? There's no.
I mean, no. My new apartment is $900 a month, and so it's more than I was paying the old place.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess I just want to get out of this place without any other money. I mean, because I just don't have it. I had to take out a loan from my parents to get the deposit on this place.
Okay.
I need to get my deposit back from Dennis from that place. So I don't know. Just yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So get all your money back and get out of it. Got it. So let's see. So options for what you can do. So the least aggressive option is to just send him a letter, a demand letter. But the problem there is you don't actually know his address.
Right.
Okay. And but I'm sure it's something that we can find. You know his place is employment, right?
I know that he works for Mercy Corps, and I know his PO box, but that is the extent of it.
So I suppose if we sent him something with his PO box, we do anything he said it.
And he has the name right next, so I assume so.
Mm-hmm. So I just like using this chart, and then after I kind of write down all the options and disadvantages and advantages, I'd like you to kind of rank them for me, so you can kind of know where to go from here. So the first option is to give him this demand letter. And the demand letter would basically, it's easy. The disadvantages are that you might say no. You might not reply at all. And it's not very intimidating. And of course, demand letter would include things like inflation relief and all the recounts, the compensations that you like for repairs, damage, items, and the security deposit. Another option that's a little bit more aggressive is to send the demand letter and then also say we'd like to negotiate. And say you bring your counsel, I'll bring my counsel, and we'll sit down and come to a solution and an amount of money that we both agree is fair. So the advantages to that are that it shows you're a little bit more serious. And being able to negotiate and actually sit across the table from the person that you feel wronged you can also feel very cathartic because it's possible to apologize to you. And it's also less work than trial. But the disadvantages include the fact that you would probably have to produce some documents. Which means that, but I see that it won't be too much of a problem for you because you kept a really good inventory of everything you have. So when I say produce documents, probably have to all the receipts. You probably maybe have to take some photographs. Did you ever take photos of the damage?
I didn't. No, it was just always with the receipt and then the check.
Okay, so is there any way to document any of the damage that had been
I mean, the basement is still flooded, so that would be
Okay,
pretty
so that's
easy.
something to just.
The gutters are still old and not working. They're still putting around the basement, so I honestly know about them. The other things in the stove tops are installed and already completed, so.
Okay. So you can still show some of the disrepair that's there. And another disadvantage is that it is more expensive because that means more hours of legal responsibility. But as I said, it does show you that you're a bit more serious. It's more likely to respond.
Is there any consequences of him not responding to that?
For the demand letter?
For the negotiate and the ban.
So for the negotiation, if he doesn't respond to that, the consequences would be the trial.
Okay.
So that's the next step is trial. And the advantages are, you're very serious. And you have to respond. And because of everything you said, probably that you're more likely to get maybe more than just reasonable returns. But the disadvantage is that it is a lengthy process. And it would be very time demanding. And it can be, for some people, it can be an overnight thing because of how long it is and how it takes. So those are the disadvantages. And also, it can be very expensive.
How expensive?
Well, as I said before, for us, our retainer fee is $7,500, and then we do have a contingency fee for something that we feel like is likely to win a trial, but so much of contingency depends on how much money you're likely to get, and so that's something that we would have to discuss the next meeting if that's something we really serious about. But the advantage of these options is that one doesn't preclude the other, so you can start with your easiest option or move to more serious and continue on that way. So the biggest thing is, in my mind, that I can think of is the fact that he is abroad, and just offhand, do you know of any residents that he lives in the United States?
Not really.
Okay, so is he ever back in the States?
When we first started talking, he said he'd be gone for several months at a time, and he didn't specify when he'd be back. He was one of them. And send the checks to his PO box.
Okay. So another disadvantage of trials would be jurisdiction, which is kind of a complicated concept, and it's probably not something we really need to discuss yet because he does have a home in the United States that he's renting out that's on his name. Basically saying that sometimes it's harder to get people who are living abroad primarily to be in the United States before something like trial. So it's something you might also want to consider that. So if you could rank these in order for me, which is something?
Well, the problem is I don't have much time because I have to go to. I have a job offer in DC that I always wanted to do.
Okay.
So I don't have. I mean, I have to take an options thing and be done by then. I don't have any money. So I mean, this is already fortunate for me. I mean, I guess I prefer to go 1, 2, 3.
Okay, and let me also amend this by saying the demand letter would also include notice of vacation or notice of vacating.
Okay.
Which is important for you to. So in order for you to validly terminate your lease, you do have to give him notice that you're leaving.
Right.
Even though you've done it through cell phone calls, you just send him a written notice saying I'm breaking the lease, I'm vacating the premises, here it is expired. So that would probably be something like.
I mean, if you were in my situation, like what would you do? were
Well,
going through this.
the problem with that question is that I can't really truly understand everything situationally that's happening to you. So a lot of times giving an answer about what I would do in your situation isn't very conducive to coming up with a really good solution that you need to satisfied with. So a better question is, what do you feel comfortable with?
I mean, I don't have any money, so going through.
Okay.
$7,500 right now is a lot for me that I can't really afford.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could barely live in a new place right now. So.
Yeah, that's totally understandable. I mean, we would be to end up announcing very quickly. And the good thing about option one that you selected as option one is that it will probably leave the least practice on you because you're doing your due diligence. You're leaving your notice saying that you're vacating. You're saying why you're vacating. The only issue with option one is that since he's already so unresponsive, that might just mean that that's all you get is that you lose the apartment, but you don't get any compensation for everything else that's happened.
I mean, can I get my security deposit back?
Yes, if you're giving him notice that you're vacating, he has to give you your security deposit back. That's not something you can hold on to unreasonably like that. The other issue, however, is that he might come back and say, oh, I actually need the security deposit for reasonable repair and for the wear and tear that happened while he was here. So with this, the command letter and notice of vacating, it's kind of like putting a lot of the power into his court because like, if you respond, that's great. You might not even respond, so you legally vacated, but it doesn't mean that you're going to get anything extra from him. He might give you a runaround for getting a security deposit back. So there are a lot of those things, but I guess, because this does include the demand letter, that might scare him a little bit and say, he doesn't just want out, he wants something before he goes. Which is true, you do want reasonable compensation for everything that's happened to you. So, I totally understand if this is what you're comfortable with, but what I'm trying to express to you is that just because you're doing this, it doesn't mean that this is what it is. You could do this and see how you respond, and then, come back to us, meet with us again after you've gotten a little bit more information about the situation, and then you can decide from then if you want to try to pull him into negotiations in response to their letter.
Okay. How much would that cost?
So the negotiation itself is not where the retainer fee comes into play. The retainer fee comes into play if we're actually going to trial. The negotiation would still be an hourly basis, and it would be about $250 an hour. I don't know exactly how long a negotiation would take with him because, I don't know if he'd come in with his own legal counsel if he'd come by himself. Usually people come in with their own legal counsel. But I'm not exactly sure how long that would be, so I can't really give you an exact idea of how much that would cost.
Okay.
But it would give you an opportunity to say, hey, this is all the information I have against you.
Right.
So, I've got a pretty good idea of what's going on. I've got a pretty good case. So if I do want to take this to court, I've got a good chance. You're better off just giving me what I want.
Right. Do you think I have, if you want to travel, a case?
So you have a lot of strong points about your case. You did a really nice job keeping all those receipts. You did a really nice job actually trying to reasonably inform him through your, rent checks and writing little memos and talking to receipts. That was really good. The only problem I'm seeing here is the fact that he told you to email and you lost his email. So that could be a little bit of a monkey wrench in the situation, but it wouldn't be an end-all be-all. I mean, you have so much other information on your side as far as the repairs you've done, the receipts that you've kept, and just the fact that you are more able than a normal person to make these repairs is kind of indicative of the fact that the repairs that you did make were the type of repairs a landlord should probably be making.
Right.
So I would say you have a pretty good chance of trial. But the question to you is, how well does that jive with your objectives?
I mean, I don't I just need my money back is really what I'm looking at, and I don't need anything else any more than that. I mean, I believe in June, and so there's already temperatures on this. I'm in a new place, so it's not that I need anything more. I just feel like I need my deposit back, and I need to make sure that I can get out of the lease and without any extra cost.
Yes, of course. Like I said, that's totally understandable. I mean, you are, as I said before, you're just trying to be made whole again in this situation, which makes sense. But that's again why I'm kind of trying to give you the options and tell you that just because you go with one doesn't mean you can't go to the next step. So this is a good place to start. Like you ranked it number one, so I'm assuming you feel pretty good about that option.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And also, it might be that after I get a chance to look at your lease, since I haven't been able to look at your lease, I'll be able to give you more information. So, let's say for your lease and there's something in there that you weren't aware was in there, I could then advise you during a short meeting instead of a long investment that, hey, what negotiation I had in work had something that was amended in the lease that was more fit to you, or I could say, this lease is pretty solid and you have a really good case, and I'm sure we can start in that negotiation. So we can have follow-up meetings and kind of make a more meaningful decision after we have more information.
Okay. I mean, are there any laws that protect you from stuff like this? I mean,
Yes, there absolutely are. With landlord-tenant laws, a landlord is responsible for making your home habitable and is responsible for making reasonable repairs to your home. And once a landlord has provided notice that something is wrong with the home, he needs to respond in a timely manner. And another thing that you have on your side is that with terminating a lease, you have been kind of giving him notice through your invoices and your memos that something's up with his house, that there are issues or problems. And so that's why I was saying that giving him notice that you're vacating is really important to make sure that you stay on the right side of the law.
Right.
So yes, there are a lot of rules that say that you should be able to live in a habitable place and rent to somebody. So there are laws that protect you.
Okay.
The issue with that is the fact that he is abroad and he's not someone who can get a hold of you.
Right. Okay.
So how about from here we formulate kind of a plan of what to do next together. So I'm just going to write it on the back of this paper. So I just wanted to restate your objectives before we formulate a plan to see where we'll go next. So your objectives are break the lease, get the deposit back, and I'm kind of ranking them based on an order of importance. First, most important thing is break that lease for March. Is that correct? To rank it?
Yeah.
Okay, and so after that, would it be correct to say compensation for damages?
Yeah.
For damages and repairs. So, have I missed anything from your objective?
No, that's
Okay, great. So from here, are you comfortable with the idea of just meeting then with more information so you can decide, or would you want to just do the demand letter right off the bat?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Sooner would be better?
Yeah.
Okay, so I will draft the demand letter and the notice that you're leaving. But what would really help me get there is if you could send me a copy of it.
Okay.
And if you could send me a copy of all your receipts. And is there any other information that you think that you might have that could be helpful to me?
Not that I know of. I mean, I think he's in Sudan. I don't know if that makes a difference.
Oh, okay.
But I think he said something about that. And so, I don't know if that helps at all. Okay. Change anything?
It shouldn't change anything. I guess in season 2 Dan, I'm trying to think of how long it'll take for any correspondence I send him to get to him. But hopefully it will get to him and his PO box at the time since he's been getting your checks for the time. So, oh, also, would you mind taking pictures of the house as it is?
Yeah, I could do that.
And so for the objectives, or for what to do from here on out, do you think I missed anything that you want to see done between now and the next time?
No, I'm just getting really broken my workbooks, so I don't pay that or owe anything, because like I said, I'm already in these books, so.
So this sending the notices you're vacating your lease has to be sent as soon as possible. So maybe I will actually even send that before I draft the demand letter with a inventory of all the other stuff that you guys be compensated for.
And then we can see to receive that before my lease is broken, or does it just pay or what?
So for a lot of contract law, there's the idea that once it's in the mail, it's reasonably considered received because it's the mailbox rule.
Right.
So once it's in the mail, you should be okay.
So we can send that and then it will be fine. I just don't pay anything else or worry about anything else.
So the problem with that is you're a little full on that. That's the biggest issue with that, is that usually for the lease, you have to give them notice of vacating within a certain number of days. I believe it's usually 10 days for certain circumstances. So the time frame is really tight for us. So that's why I want to send that out as soon as possible.
I mean, I called him on the 16th. If that doesn't, I mean, that's when the 16th is when I called him. I left a voicemail saying that I no longer live in the home. I have a new place. I moved out.
Okay, that's excellent. So that's almost giving you half a month. But you know what? Let me look up the rules on exactly how many days.
Okay.
And get back to you on exactly how many days you have to give him notice that you're terminating. But the fact that you did call and have your issues, you can probably go back to the timer set for that. So, but I will still send out this notice because it's probably better to do more than that.
Yeah.
At this point.
Okay.
To let him know. So I will send out the notice first that he's got to receive it. He's received your check before, and then I'll draft the demand letter. But so for the next meeting that we have, let me look up these rules and make sure that you're totally insulated from the requirements for how many days you have to send that notice, and then let's get all this other information just in case we do proceed further than the demand letter and the notice, and it'll help us kind of approach negotiation with all this information that you really will have right in your face.
Okay.
And would you feel more comfortable if I actually looked up this rule about exactly when and just gave you a quick call?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. I will call you. Make sure that you're in the clear for Washington State.
Okay.
Is there anything else that you want to discuss? Any concerns you have? Any questions you have for the objectives or what we're doing next time?
I mean, what do you think the odds are of me getting a reasonable compensation for my damages?
So I'm weary of giving exact numbers and odds without really seeing all of the information in front of me. One of the biggest pieces of information I'm missing right now is the lease itself. And also a big piece of information I'm missing is, kind of seeing the damage that was there. But because you have all these receipts, at the very least, you won't be able to come back and say, hey, you should be paying me that extra rent that you cut out of your rent check. So in essence, you've kind of been compensated for that already,
right? Because
you actually, cut it out of your as far as other compensation goes, with your security deposit, I feel pretty confident that he wouldn't, after everything you've been through, actually try to cut your security deposit.
Okay.
Because that would reflect really poorly on him if he ended up taking it to trial, because it would be us showing, this landlord hasn't done his due diligence to make this place habitable, and here he is, coming back with a security deposit that he has a responsibility to only hold for reasonable repairs, and that's not a reasonable repair.
Right.
The basement flooding is not normal.
Right.
So I'm pretty confident that you'll be able to get this yourself back. The biggest problem with compensation, however, is the valuation of the items that destroyed.
Right.
Since they're sentimental items, it might be difficult to actually see a number on those. I'm not entirely sure about that. But I can tell you that with the amount of money that you've already paid in your receipts, I'm pretty confident about that, and I can tell you I'm pretty confident about the security deposit.
Okay, that's good. Do you think I'd be held liable for leaving the basement flooding or anything that happened with that, or?
So the issue with that is the fact that you did give him notice that you're leaving, and you have to make reasonable repairs as a tenant. That worrying about basement flooding is something that most people wouldn't even be able to do it.
Right.
So, I can look up more of the law and get back to you on that, but I would say from my experience and from what I know, I don't think you'd be responsible for that, because it is something that, if you consider this scenario an analogous scenario with someone living in an apartment, if the basement of the apartment building flooded, that would be the apartment building owner's responsibility. It wouldn't be the tenant's responsibility to figure that out.
Okay.
So, and when you called him, you left him voicemail saying that the basement was flooded.
Yeah, I called about the water heater and I said that it's covered in water and I'm moving out to the next repair. And that I don't need to replace it and move this lock.
Okay, so he has an idea that there's something going on with the basement. So at that point, he's an info. But if it makes you feel more comfortable, I can make sure that gets put into your notice letter.
Great.
And that way, he's got information from phone calls, he's got information from letters. There's no way he can claim ignorance on that. Do you have any other questions or concerns?
No, that's okay.
Okay, great. I'm so glad to hear that. And you're comfortable with everything that we've come up with?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. I'm very happy to hear that. And I guess that concludes our meeting.
Okay.
So I will send you that follow-up email.
Okay.
I'll call you about that follow-up information. And I'll let you know when the notice goes out. I'll let you know when the demand letter goes out, and then we can schedule another meeting for you to get all this other information. Okay. Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for coming in today.
Yeah,
and
of course.
taking the time. And so, let me show you that. Okay, let me just stop the recording.